Welcome to XIO Voice. Continuing from the previous episode 176. Xiao Yan was surprised when he heard Xun Er's words. However, he did not attempt to stubbornly maintain the so-called pride of a man. He gently nodded. Putting up a brave front could nicely be described as being hot-blooded, or it could also be described as being reckless. With Xiao Yan's experience, he would naturally not act like some ordinary young person right now, straining his neck and overexerting himself to endure on. If he did that, he would be laughed at by others. Be careful. The smile on Xun Er's face became even richer when she saw that Xiao Yan did not reject her. She did not want Xiao Yan to form a clear distinction between them. Bing He, who saw their eyes gradually turn to him, looked at Xun Er and frowned. He slowly demanded, "Who are you?" "This is a matter of my Ice River Valley." Bing He was naturally not a fool since he had been able to become the valley chief of the Ice River Valley and reach his current level. Ever since Xun Er had appeared, he could tell that this lady has strong background. However, the members of the Gu clan usually kept a low profile. Some ordinary people had never even heard of this clan, that originated from the primordial times. From this, one could tell just how low a profile the Gu clan kept. It was also due to this that Bing He had difficulty identifying Xun Er's group when he saw them for the first time. After all, the Do-Chi continent was huge. There were as many experts as there were clouds. Even Bing He did not dare say he knew all the experts in the world. What an overbearing Ice River Valley. Xun Er stared at Bing Er only to slightly grin. Bing He's expression slightly turned sour in the face of Xun Er's laugh. He was naturally aware that the other party was not praising him. His gaze vaguely swept over the bodies of the two black-clothed, old men, and he immediately discovered that their strengths were equal to his. This venerable self only wants the woeful poison lady. If he is your friend, this venerable self can let bygones be bygones. However, I will definitely not let off that woeful poison lady. Bing He's gaze flashed across the two black-clothed, old men before pausing on the little fairy doctor. Finally, he spoke in a solemn manner. He was naturally able to tell that this mysterious lady and the brat called Xiao Yan possessed a deep relationship. Xun Er's bright eyes swept over the little fairy doctor when she heard this. Coincidentally, the little fairy doctor's eyes had also shot over. Both ladies' gazes interacted in the air. There was an unknown feeling within both of their eyes. A moment later, they turned away without leaving a trace. "Valley Chief Bing, you cannot let that Xiao Yan off." Qing Hai by the side hurriedly yelled out when he saw the situation. Xiao Yan was a person the Chief of the Hall of Souls had personally ordered to capture. How would he return an account to his superiors if Xiao Yan were allowed to leave? "You should act by yourself if you wish to capture him." Bing He's expression sank as he quietly scolded this old fellow for not understanding the situation. He dared to cry out loud right now. Qing Hao's expression also changed slightly upon hearing Bing He's reprimand. A chill flashed across his eyes. Immediately, he let out a cold snort. He was an honorable elder from the Hall of Souls. Although he was courteous to Bing He, it did not mean he needed to grovel to him. "The two of you need not argue. You will not be able to bring anyone away from here. Grab your people and leave this city within 1 minute and I will allow you to leave." Xun Er raised her pretty eyes and faintly instructed these two, who had already started to bicker among themselves before the battle had started. Bing He's and Qing Hai's expressions became a little ugly when they heard Xun Er's words. The factions they represented were not ordinary factions, especially the Hall of Souls behind Qing Hai. It was a great support that allowed him to do anything without feeling fear. The factions in the Central Plains that could cause the Hall of Souls to be afraid were existences that could be counted with one's fingers. Although those two black-colored elders had a great deterring effect, it was still insufficient to cause the both Bing He and Qing Hai to get lost just because they were told to. He, what an arrogant tone. It is really rare to find anyone in the Central Plains who dares to say such words to my Hall of Souls. Qing Hai's elderly face revealed a sinisterness. He laughed in a strange fashion. "Little girl, I would advise you not to end up letting the faction behind you offend an existence they cannot offend for a little man." These words might appear a little imposing if the Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls were to say them. However, you do not possess the qualification. Xun Er's small mouth was lifted into a slight arc. She shook her head and spoke with a half-smile. There seemed to be very few existences that the Gu clan could not afford to offend on this continent. There are still 30 seconds left. A slight gold-colored flame suddenly moved within Xun Er's bright eyes. The expressions of Bing He and Qing Hai sank. A moment later, Bing He finally could not control himself as he coldly laughed. If he were to turn around and leave in such a dejected state, the Ice River Valley would really end up losing a great amount of face. It is the first time that I, Bing He, has met such an arrogant member of the younger generation after having lived in this Central Plains for so many years. Bing He crackled in a dark and cold manner. The black-colored snowflake between his eyebrows flickered with an unusual luster. A black-colored cold air slowly surged out of his body. With a clench of his hand, a piece of black ice cracked as it extended out of his hand, transforming into an unusual black ice prick. The front of the ice prick was unusually sharp. Its entire body was even covered in a spiral pattern. At a glance, it contained a feeling that caused one's entire body to become cold. If one were struck by this thing, it was likely that a head-sized hole of blood would end up appearing on their body. Elders. Xun Er's face did not reveal the slightest ripple in the face of Bing He's movement. Her eyes merely turned to the two black-clothed, old men a short distance away. The two black-clothed elders hurriedly bowed and cupped their hands together upon hearing Xun Er open her mouth. They smiled and said, "Young miss, please rest assured. Leave it to the both of us." The white-haired, black-clothed, old man turned his head after speaking. His eyes landed on Bing He as he laughed. "KK. I have long heard that Valley Chief Bing He has practiced the Ice Zune Force until its pinnacle. The old me really wishes to experience it." After the last word sounded, the white-haired, old man stepped through space and appeared a short distance in front of Bing He. His face was filled with a warm smile. "Old fellow, since you have made your choice, just leave these two to me." The other black-clothed, old man helplessly shook his head before turning his eyes to Qing Hai and Tian Shuangzi. Bing He's eyes were gloomy as he looked at the smiling, white-haired, old man in front of him. A denseness surfaced in his eyes. His foot stepped on empty air as a strange, black-colored ice cube appeared out of nowhere. After which, it transformed into a dozen long spears made of black ice that cut through the air and rushed toward the old man with lightning-like speed. The white-haired, old man smiled upon seeing this. He clenched his hand and a mighty deep yellow do chi surged explosively out of his body. It formed a thick mud wall in front of him, receiving those long spears made of black ice amid a wave of puffing sounds. Young miss does not like to wait for people. The old me shall hurry and fight with you. The white-haired, old man's foot stepped through the empty air. A deep yellow do chi covered his body. It transformed into a ferocious-looking ground dragon, emitting wave after wave of roars. Finally, it was accompanied by another low roar as it swiftly shook the air and pounced toward Bing He. Even with Bing He's great strength, he had no choice but to treat such a fierce attack by the white-haired, old man seriously. Immediately, the strange black ice pricks suddenly began to rotate at high speed, and they ruthlessly rushed toward the white-haired, old man. The other black-clothed, old man stepped through the empty air while the white-haired, old man was attacking Bing He. Step by step, he walked toward Qing Hai and Tian Shuangzi. "Tian Shuangzi, the both of us should join hands and test this person. What do you say?" Qing Hai's expression became gloomier as he watched the black-clothed elder slowly approaching with each step. Finally, he uttered these words to Tian Shuangzi by the side with a deep voice. Tian Shuangzi glanced at the fierce battle between the white-haired, old man and Bing He, who had clashed together. After which, he nodded. The current situation was not an optimistic one. Moreover, there were two other elite Do Zunes, who had yet to join the fight. That mysterious green-colored lady did not appear ordinary. "I can only go all out." Tian Shuangzi clenched his teeth. Bing He had yet to give the order to retreat. Naturally, he dared not flee alone. Hence, all he could do was fight. "Ganda, attack and kill Xiao Yan." Qing Hai's expression was cold as he cried out a command to the few experts from the Hall of Souls. Ganda's group, which had remained in the sky, were startled when they heard his order. Immediately, their faces contained a bitter smile. Currently, there were two elite Do Zunes by Xiao Yan's side. Would they not be delivering themselves to death if they were to step forward? Although they thought like this in their hearts, none of them dared to disobey Qing Hai's orders. They could only swiftly calm their minds. With a wave of a hand, all of them hurried to the spot where Xiao Yan and Xun Er were located. All elders of the Ice River Valley, listen up. Aid the Hall of Souls. Attack and capture Xiao Yan. Tian Shuangzi's cold cry sounded. Those Ice River Valley's elders in the sky faced each other when they heard this. All they could do was toughen their heads and rush out. Qinghai only nodded after seeing them move. His dark, cold eyes suddenly turned to the black-clothed, old man, who had already arrived in front of him. His gaze crossed with Tian Shuangzi, and he coldly laughed. Mighty Dou Qi surged out of his body. With a swoosh sound, the two of them spread apart. After which, they moved their bodies and fiercely attacked the black-clothed man from both the front and back. While these two big battles had erupted, Gan Da's group had gradually formed a fan shape and spread apart. They surrounded Xiao Yan and Xun Er. No one dared to approach the little fairy doctor or Tian Huo Zun Jie behind this pair. However, the two of them did not do anything either. They clearly understood that this mysterious, green-clothed lady was not ordinary. Xiao Yan's eyes swept around him. He slightly knit his brows. That expert from the Hall of Souls called Gan Da was not weaker than Protector Wu. There was naturally little need to feel any worry if this person was alone. However, there was currently many experts. Even an ordinary expert at the peak of the Dozong class would not be able to endure. Just as Xiao Yan was hesitating about whether he should intervene or not, Xun Er gracefully shifted her feet. She slowly took a step forward and slightly curled her hand. A golden-colored liquid-like flame suddenly curled and rose. The expression of Xiao Yan changed when this golden flame appeared because there was a heavenly flame uprising in his body at this moment. This is also a heavenly flame? Xiao Yan's eyes stared intently at the mysterious golden-colored flame in Xun Er's hand. A flabbergasted expression gradually surged into his eyes.